Hello, and welcome to the 82nd episode of the Not Your Mama's Gamer podcast, a podcast where we talk about games and gaming from a feminist perspective. My name is Samantha Blackman, and I am joined tonight by a almost full panel of Not Your Mama's Gamer co-hosts, Alex Lane, Jennifer Lynn, Sarah Nixon, and Wendy Sierra. Hello. Shall we introduce ourselves, ladies?
What order do you want to go in?
First?
Well, I'll go
I was going to say the order that we
allowed.
see. How about Alex?
We all see different orders, so. Yeah.
I know, that's why I said
My name is Dr. Alex Lane, PhD, MD, JD. And I am a professor of technical communications at Metropolitan State University, which I will never get tired of saying. I study video games and the video game industry and company policies related to issues like gender in technology-based industries. And tomorrow's my 6-year anniversary.
Oh, yay!
Oh, wow.
I know, right? I think we're beating some sort of odds. I don't really know. And I'm still homeless, but for the actual moment, I have a home base enough. You can see my lovely in-laws.
You're
place.
in a log cabin.
I am.
That's pretty
fantastic.
fantastic.
Hands down, without a doubt, no joke. There's deer running by outside the window as I speak. So that's what I'm doing. I'll have a house on the 30th. So. That's me.
I'll go.
Period.
I'll go. I'm Jen Justice. I am a second-year PhD student in rhetoric and comp at Purdue University. I study writing and pedagogy and video games, especially in how they all relate to each other.
Nice.
Yay.
Sarah?
Okay, I'm Sarah. I am a recent graduate of Purdue University with a double major in creative writing and professional writing. And currently I feel like I'm suffering from paint fumes because our house just got repainted and it's very strong smelling. I can't escape it.
So you're not drinking this week, but you're huffing.
Yes.
Oh!
Apparently. Yes.
Wendy?
By proxy.
I am Wendy Sierra. I'm a professor of English and Digital Cultures and Technologies at St. John Fisher College in New York. And I am the proud owner of an awesome new desk set in my office. After kicking us out for like a month and a half to redo the carpet and take up the asbestos.
That's fun.
That's a plus.
I'll get out, fine.
Everybody in Avalon is jealous.
Yeah, I got all new
Yeah,
desks for, like a whole new setup and everything. I figure that, now that I've stuck around for a year, they're like, okay, she's gonna stay. We might as well give her the good crap.
Might as well take away the asbestos.
Yeah. Well, I guess if we're keeping her.
We might as well not kill her with asbestos.
Yeah.
I have an office couch now, which I'm super excited
All right.
about.
Nice.
Yes.
There we go.
Office napping ready.
Okay. And, well, we'll start with the usual, what you're playing, what you're reading, what you're drinking, which is always the very important question of the week.
Important question.
The most important question, I think. We'll go with the same order. I won't, not with me going first, but with, how about Alex, you tell us what you're playing this week, hon?
Sure. Let's see. So I played a game called Farm for Your Life, which I have since finished. I meant to do it as the indie game of the week last week, but I ended up not making it to the podcast. But I did write a review on it. But that's going to be my indie game of the week this week to talk about, so I won't talk about that yet. I also finished Tropico 5, which came out, like a month and a half ago, something like that, 2 months ago. Whenever I became homeless, that came out, because you can play it without an internet connection, so I've been playing it quite a bit. And I just love that game. I love the Tropico games. It's exactly the same as Tropico 4. Did anybody else play Tropico?
Nope.
Yeah, me.
It's exactly the same. So if you like it, then that's your game. But it's not new. Okay, so Sam, you get it then. It's identical. Like, you know, Civ, they change some stuff. They keep it essentially the same, but literally, this was like if they had made an expansion pack before, it'd be 5. So it was good, but you know, there wasn't a whole lot crazy there. The other thing I played was Storm. Has anybody played Storm?
Nope.
No, I think I saw it though recently.
Yeah, it's an indie game. It's been on my wish list forever, but it was $10, so I've been waiting for it to go on sale, and it's on sale for I think like 5 more hours tonight. So probably by the time people see this, it won't be on sale anymore. But it was on sale for like 75% off for like $2. So I got it. So the idea is, it's like an indie game. You control the elements. So you start off, you get like 1 wind burst every like 10 seconds, and you try to get a seed to fall, or there's like a pear on a tree, and you're trying to get that pear to fertile soil. So like you're the elements, and you're trying to procreate the earth and like make it beautiful. So you like control the wind to try and blow the seed into the fertile soil, and then eventually you do the rain. So you try and get the rain to like drop the seed, and then, you know, raise the water level up to get the seed to float to fertile soil, etc., etc. It's supposed to be like amazing and tranquil. It's beautiful. There's good music. It's boring. So, But, I know, it's so lovely, and I'm just like, I would rather make
okay, did you like Flower? Because if you didn't like Flower, then it's probably the same sort of...
Flower?
Flower was fun.
I like the idea of Flower. Does that count?
Yeah, I liked the idea too. And I always am such a sucker for those games. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be deep. It's gonna be amazing. Everyone said the reviews on Papo and Yo was like, if you liked Journey and Flower, you'll love Papo and Yo. And I was like, no.
No, nothing.
Don't hate me. I didn't say it.
That's unbelievable.
I'm just saying.
That's very different.
So anyway, I also played that, and it's fine. If you can get it for $2, it's worth it. If you like those tranquil crap games, but otherwise, not crap, but like the crap-like tranquil game.
It's too indie for you, Alex.
Oh please!
It's too artsy.
Oh please!
Because you can't kill things.
Artsy.
It's too. Hey, you're looking at the one who did the video game art video. I get it. It's just not something I want to play. I'll like watch a little thing about it, or like appreciate it in an essay for my freshman comp class, but I'm not going to like, play it. I'd rather play something that you can play. But anyway, it's fine.
I want to kill stuff.
So that's a yeah. Kill stuff or make it in a more direct manner. But anyway, that's what I played.
Okay, well I guess that means it's
All
me.
right.
Yes, no? Okay. So I've got only three games
Yes,
that
I'm
I've
sorry.
been doing. Okay, just making sure. As usual, my go-to when I have downtime, I've been playing Minecraft. Sorry, Sam. But I've also been playing Hate Plus, which is the sequel to Analog and Hate Story.
Yeah.
I'm about a third of the way through, I believe. It's interesting so far, but I haven't had time to really sit down and see how the story will change yet. And then I also started, played, and finished Papo Yo, which we will be talking about later, so I will leave it at that.
Okay.
Sarah?
Then I guess my turn. I just finished playing Brothers today, but that we'll talk about later. And also Valiant Hearts not too long ago, which we'll also talk about later, I guess.
You've had an emotional week.
I know, the feels are strong recently. But I'm kind of late for the curve. I've been playing Infamous Second Son. My brother got it, and so I was like, hey, can I borrow it so I don't have to... So that's what the nice thing about family is, you share. So that's good. So I've started picking up that. I'm not very far, though, yet. And also Animal Crossing New Leaf. My town is slowly coming together. It's kind of hard to juggle 4 different characters, though, so...
Do you have 4 different accounts, or is it 4 characters?
Yeah, I was juggling too, and that was a lot.
Well, you can create extra people to live in your town. I think technically it's supposed to be for other people who are using your DS and who want to play, but they don't have access to like the mayor level abilities, but they can live in the town as like a citizen basically. And people just create extra accounts to hold patterns because you can only hold so many patterns on one account.
Right.
And hold items and collect more things. So I created more accounts so that I could have more patterns to make my town look nicer.
Nice.
Wendy?
Me?
Wendy?
Well, I have been playing, speaking of playing old games, I've been playing
Did we lose
Age of
her?
Empires 3. Am I not talking?
I can hear you.
I hear her.
Maybe.
Okay.
How about I jump in and then when we hopefully she'll pop back in.
No,
Sam,
Wendy's...
I think you're the only one missing her.
Am I the only one missing her?
Yeah.
Yes. Seems to be.
Maybe it's me.
Okay, Age of Empires, which I got for like $3 during the Steam summer sale. And let's see, I got it, my husband got it, one of our good friends got it, my sister, her boyfriend, my father, our dog, cats down the street, right? So, and we're really bad because none of us have really played RTS games before. This is like our first one. I feel like we're 2 decades late to the genre. But here we are.
At least you can all be bad together. That's...
Yeah, exactly. So we only play against computers. We don't play against other players because we're so bad.
Like, I refuse to play those anymore because my friends adored them, and they played them into the ground, and they were so good and so competitive that if I even started to jump in, there was no way I was going to be creamed. So
yeah, none of us really played them, and I was like, well, it's cheap. Maybe we ought to give it a try.
I played a lot of RTS, and it was not my favorite one by any means, and I will say that you are probably way better off just playing the computer because you're making the right decision. I don't know if that's the first one I would have picked up, but you're making the right decision.
Well, it's simultaneously my favorite and my least favorite, I guess, since it's the
only.
And I have been playing Divinity, which I did my review for, and gave it a very solid meh. There are worse games out there. I think that I play with my husband. We play co-op together, and if you have somebody like that you game a lot with, and you want to play a co-op game, then I think it's fun for that. And it just has some interesting twists on the RPG genre for co-op, so that's pretty cool. But if I were going to sit down and play an RPG, it wouldn't, like just on my own, I definitely wouldn't pick it up. So. Yeah. And then Borderlands 2 also I've been playing. Because co-op. Big co-op week for me.
Co-op's fun.
Lots of co-op.
I love co-op.
If you have somebody to do co-op with, anyway.
See, and I
That's
play games.
That's sad.
I play
say
so
that.
late at night that nobody
Sad.
wants to co-op with me.
There was a game...
We tried to co-op a few times, Sam, like with WoW. We just
Well,
didn't
you know,
do
that
it
doesn't count.
Coach co-op.
what was it?
I was at Target. What was I getting? And I was asking him like, he was like treating me like a total idiot. I don't remember what game I was getting. It was a couple years ago, and I was like, okay, and he's like, well, this is for. It was right when 360 came out, so he was like, this is for 360, not regular Xbox. Do you know the difference? And I was like,
Oh dear God.
But anyway, I was like, is it couch co-op? And he's like, what is that? I was like, I feel like the term is totally self-explanatory, you idiot. Even if you hadn't heard of it. You know what I mean? Like, is it online or is it couch co-op? Or maybe it was when the Xbox One came out. I don't remember. Regardless.
That's really
Sorry.
You're a girl. You're stupid.
Of
You know,
course.
right?
You don't play games. There's a co-op that just came out. It came out on the 4th. I couldn't afford to grab it because it was $15 on Steam. But it's Second Chance Heroes. It looks like it would be fun for co-op play. It's it's basically the world has gone to hell because we've been inundated with kitten videos and ads.
I like it.
And so the heroes are like Abraham Lincoln and a chain-smoking Queen Elizabeth and Napoleon riding a cannon and like all these historical figures that you can co-op play up to 4 players and.
Oh man, this is adding to the wish list now.
Interesting.
Oh, got it. You can buy a 4-pack for $44.99.
Oh,
That looks like fun.
it looked like fun. I wasn't sure who I would play it with, and money is money. So I don't know.
Money is money.
Money is money.
Hate is gonna hate. Money is money.
Exactly.
My whole family plays game. Well, some of my sisters don't, but mostly they all play games, which is pretty awesome.
My brothers play sports
sorry.
games. It's not fun.
If you're looking for like a fun co-op, especially also for kids because it's kid friendly, and if you still have your PS2, I really, really enjoy Cookies and Cream. My parents got it for me and my brother when we first got the
Cookies
PS2.
and Cream?
It's this cute little game about like 2 bunnies and they're like siblings and they have to help each other get through puzzles. So basically it's like you're solving puzzles and one will be on one side and one will be on the other and you're helping each other get through, and you can only get through if you work together. And you can play it single player, and it kind of becomes like a sort of similar control-wise to like Brothers. But it's more fun if you do it 2-player because then you're working together and you're like, hey, can you go over here and like open this door for me? And like you gotta make sure
The Adventures of Cookies and Cream?
Yeah.
So it's like Portal 2.
It's on PS3.
PS3? I have it for PS2.
Maybe they updated it?
Yeah,
Maybe. I just looked it up and it's like $9.99
Nice.
digital download on PS3.
Oh, maybe, yeah, because it was originally PS2. Maybe they put it on PS3 as well then.
That's a good sign.
So it's like Portal 2 with less snarkiness and death gas.
I think my
Portal 2 is
PS3
co-op?
would freak out if I actually tried to play a game on it instead of just using it as a Blu-ray player.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can handle that.
yeah, Portal 2 is co-op.
I was unaware of this.
You didn't know Portal 2 was co-op? It's the best co-op game ever made.
I was just playing the storyline. I didn't know.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No explanation, just no.
I'll tell Kale we have to go back and play it again.
It is the best. It'll be the relationship test. If you can pass playing Portal 2 together and not kill each other, you'll be alright.
I'm not worried about that. I think we'll whack at it.
I put my blue portal here.
I know. No, that's not. Do you not see? Do you not see where you put the blue
see?
portal?
Can you not tell?
Oh, what's
You
that
don't
going to do?
see
Then I'm just going to
everything.
keep jumping through it forever.
Good gravy. I would go and tell you what I played.
Okay, tell us what you played, Sam.
I'm going to save the best for last.
Oh, I know what that is looking at the notes.
Yeah, well, PlayStation Network had a sale on this week, so they had like their 2-for-1 bundles and some other stuff that was like 99 cents. So I picked up Harvest Moon Back to Nature for the Vita. Yeah.
That's definitely not the best. Keep going.
No, it's not.
They're
But it was
cute games,
99
though.
cents.
Yeah, I mean,
And it was still
especially
cute.
if you're getting it for 99 cents, you might as well get it.
And
Because
I
they're
put
fun
this-
games.
They're cute, but man, they're repetitive.
Yeah,
And I
but they're
put in
fun
an
for a
unbelievable
while.
amount of time on that game already.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it just like sucks all your time dry.
I know.
It's like, oh. And then playing it on the Vita, it's like, it's playing it on the Vita, but because that game originally came out for the PlayStation, or was it the PS2? That one I think might have originally came out for the PlayStation. So it's trying to map PlayStation controls onto a Vita. So it had a pretty steep kind of learning curve just in terms of buttons and such. So a lot of time was spent just trying to figure out what the hell I was doing. But then after that, it was like, oh, well, I'm going to walk around. And then it's like, really? It just took me like 3 hours to walk into town and talk to one person. And now I'm supposed to be in bed.
Mm-hmm.
So I
That's
had
the
to
tricky
figure
part.
things out. You know, it's like, okay, so one day I can tend my farm. And then I have to go to bed. And then one day I can go to town. And then I have to go to bed. And one day I can go mining and harvesting, and then I got to go to bed.
No, that's exactly what I did too. I got really into Harvest Moon for a while, and like I was going through my my files on my computer, and I pulled up. It was like a document about Harvest Moon, and I had like detailed schedules for every day. Like this day is for farming and planting, and this day is for fishing, and this day is for like town socializing and.
Yeah, that's
Who would make a detailed chart like that for a game? That's just silly.
I know.
I barely manage to feed myself every day, much less chart out my Harvest Moon time.
So, you know, for 99 cents, it was a good deal. Because I've already gotten way more than my money's worth out of it.
That makes
and
sense.
I'm still playing it. I've been playing more Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask, which is not the current, but the last, Professor Layton game on the 3DS. So it was the first, I think, 3D game, Professor Layton game, that is. And you know what? I have played all the other Professor Layton games, and I really love them. This one I really hate, and I'm just kind of forcing myself to play it.
Didn't you say that before, like when you first started, that you didn't really like it and you were just kind of like meh with it?
Yeah, and I went back to it because I was like, I paid for this game, I'm gonna fucking play it. Yeah,
It's so
I'm not gonna play
unfortunate.
it. Yeah, I'm not gonna play it. I have to admit it. I'm just not gonna play that game. So yeah. I played the 5th and final episode of season 1 of The Wolf Among Us. And I highly recommend that game to anyone who likes comics, for one. 2, Telltale games, for another thing. And I had never read the Fable comics until I started playing this game, and it actually made me go and start reading the comics. Because it's interesting. It's got a great story. And it made me want to know more.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
That's always a good feeling.
So that's always fun. And my last game, and as I wrote on the actual show notes, God help me, I've been playing more Ni no Kuni. Well, he was sick.
Oh, man.
So we have a rule. Huh?
Oh.
Yeah, I know. No, it's horrible. P was sick, and we have a rule about sick days. Sick days are for watching TV and playing video games.
Oh.
I was hoping she would say Mario Kart.
That's the best sick-day rule ever.
Anything
That's a
other
great
than
rule.
what she said, which was Ni no Kuni.
Oh.
So yeah,
And
we
you
played
can't deny at that point.
No, you can't. So, and that's really all I've been playing. Like, as another week of lots of handheld games and smaller games, except for Ni no Kuni. So yeah, I guess that's gonna be my summer game.
I've been doing the Farmville 2 a lot too. We've been on
I've
that.
been playing a metric shit ton of Farmville 2.
It's like the only thing I
was
can play
reading that
without the
because I
internet.
played through, and tonight I did not get the summer quest.
Oh no!
I didn't finish
Really?
the summer quest in time to get my dog.
If it makes you feel any better, there's 5 parts that you have to do to get the dog.
No
I finished the
dog.
first part, I was so excited, and I only got the stupid gnome, which does nothing. Does nothing.
Well,
and
yeah,
I worked
I'm
so
on the
hard.
final
I made so
stage,
many
but
grilled cheese
the last
sandwiches.
thing is the
I
dog.
know.
Yeah, I'm on the final
Oh,
stage. I'm
no.
on the final stage.
You're on the final stage? How many hours did you play?
I did all of it. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Okay.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
I have to admit this, okay? I have to admit this. I know, no shit. I have to admit this, that there was one stage, not this last stage, but the stage before. I was like, if I don't power through this, I will never, ever get this done. And it was on the weekend, thank God. And I was doing stuff. So I was doing it between doing stuff with P, but I played all day long. I played my phone dead, and then I plugged my phone in and picked up my iPad. So
me too, but I still only made it through the first section. I can't believe you almost got there.
I played all day long. Like, literally. I had Farmville 2 open all day long.
Apparently you have to work really hard to get the dog.
If I had done that, if I had done that like 2 or 3 more days, I would have gotten it. But I wasn't. After I did it that one day, I was like, "What the hell am I doing? This is Farmville."
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would love to spend some time at some point talking about. And I see that. I see what you're reading when we get to that, Alex.
That's why I wanted to jump in and transition to that.
Yeah. So why don't you do it? Because you've actually got some. You've been doing some reading on it, so go for it.
Okay, so I'm teaching a class in the fall. I'm getting my Kindle out here because. So if you have Prime, do you guys have Prime?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, you probably all know this already, but I didn't know it. You can have access to Kindle's loaning library and get a ton of books for free. A ton of books.
Yep.
And you just loan them, but you have to have your actual Kindles or whatever. So anyway, I got this book. It's called, hold on a second. What's this piece of shit called? Okay, so the Video Game Addiction for Parents. And then there's like 6,000 subtitles. Oh yeah. So I'm teaching a class called Children, Adolescents, and the Media: The Culture of Video Games in the fall. And the textbook's already assigned, and one of the things, of course, you have to talk about is violence and addiction, right, to any media. Because it's not a video game specific one, but I'm doing the video game angle because that's my media expertise. So anyway, I got this book, and it is just the biggest piece of shit you can possibly imagine. It is everything that is wrong with studies of video games. I'm writing up an elaborate review on Amazon to do this because there was reviews that are like, oh, thank you, I'm a parent, I've been struggling. So here we go. Here are the signs to look for if your kid is addicted to a video game. Are you ready for this? This is actually written in an actual book. I'm not kidding. This exists. Much of their free time spent playing video games.
Whoa.
I guess that makes sense. Fatigue in school, because that clearly is not normal for kids. Not keeping up with homework assignments, because no kid would do that without an addiction
Nobody ever gets behind.
Right.
No.
Not submitting homework on time. That's the same thing as the last one. Lying about computer usage so the privileges will not be removed.
I actually did that though.
Everybody does. Everybody does all the
Yeah, that's
time.
not new.
Every kid in the history of kids have done. Did you watch TV today? No. Did you listen to the phonograph today? No. Okay.
I lied about phone use so that I could talk to my best friend.
Oh, for sure. Of course.
Yeah.
Choosing computer games instead of hanging out with parents. Not kidding. Not kidding. Moody, cranky, or agitated. Not to mention this list is not parallel like their wording, but that's one of them, because no kid would be moody without addiction.
Especially teenagers. Teenagers are never moody without addictions.
For sure.
No.
Losing interest in real-life activities. Because, socializing with your friends on the internet and things like that are not real life. Right?
Not real. Not real.
Getting stressed if not able to play. You as a parent trying in vain to reduce playtime, exhibiting defensive behavior, or hiding feelings. Now, 99% of this list can just be kids being kids anyway.
Being kids.
Right.
There's maybe 2 things on there that seem like they might be legit.
Yeah, so here it is. So playing video games for more than 6 hours a week is one of the things that warrants considering going to a video game rehab clinic. More than 6 hours per week.
What?
This was published in July 2014. I'm not kidding.
That's less than an hour a day.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I don't
Or
think
shows.
that
This is my
person is-
favorite. The showing signs of tension when expecting the release of the latest game.
I'm addicted.
I don't think this person has like researched actual game addiction where they play until they pass out or skip
There's nothing
meals.
about
Or drop
it
out
that
of school,
says or reality. Yeah. So there's all sorts of things here, and of course they want you to go to like clinic, like some sort of video game clinic. He probably like owns one or something. He also refers to the author also refers to like, for example, here's a sentence. It's safe to conclude that it is crucial to find ways that to reduce your child's downtime at home, in particular those times when he's alone and he wants to play video games. So of course it's the he throughout the whole thing.
Right.
Again, July 2014, not 1991, not 1987, not even 2000, 2014. If your kid is like, and the other big thing is if your kid tries a sport and doesn't like it, then you need to put them in another sport. You can't have them playing video games. Oh my god, it was just, it is the craziest thing I have ever read. And there's all these parents that are reviewing it and being like, oh, thank you so much. I didn't know what to do.
No,
It's like, you were the worst.
Oh no.
You are the worst. So, Sam, I'm pretty sure that you need to be locked up.
Apparently,
So that's what I read.
because I played more than 6 hours of Farmville in one day.
In a day, right?
I know, and that was a week.
Oh yeah. I forgot to tell you the best part. So he goes over this research institute that's trying to fight video game addiction, right? And so what this research institute did, they took all these kids who their parents had reported as being addicted, and they made a video game
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
for them where they go into this game world, and then there's teachers and parents and other kids, and they like study who they interact with, like the psychologists like study, and then based on like who they interact with, they get certain prompts, like maybe you should talk to a peer, or like that's appropriate to talk to a teacher about. And so like all of these things at the beginning, because he goes on this huge tirade about how video games are made to be, are made to be addictive, right? They're not made to be addictive for any of the interesting actual reasons, like what's the rat and the pushing the lever? What is that? Does anybody remember?
The blah blah blah.
We did a whole video on it.
As we all blank, but
So, oh god. But anyway, any of the actual interesting reasons, like the different timed stuff and all that they're actually addictive. He says it's like they're addictive because they have here's his list, high scores, which is highly addictive. You are able to beat the game, highly addictive. There's leveling up, highly addictive. There's role playing, and discovery, and relationships. And these are all the reasons why video games are so horribly addictive. There's real reasons they're addictive.
Video games are bad because they have relationships in them?
Well, let me just go ahead and read you the little thing.
Wait, I'm confused about why.
That sounds like real life.
Online role-playing games allow people to engage with other players. This online community turns into a place where they can belong and be accepted, which pulls them back in again and again. That's why
I'm kind of like, I don't understand what. Okay, he says video games are addictive because they have endings.
So that list is everything in your life. It's education, it's friendships, it's life. Like, what? What? It'd be like if a 5-year-old tried to write a book about video games being addictive and people are reading it. It makes me so sad.
I'm believing it.
So,
yeah, we're all
Good
addicted.
God.
That's what I read. You especially, Sam.
Apparently.
Get ready. I'm going to tie you up, put you back in the car, and bring you to a clinic.
Yeah, the one that guy owns. Yeah.
Obviously, it must be effective.
It has to, because there's no reason to write that crap.
God.
Anyway,
Well,
I thought I would share that with y'all.
I just like how their video game is like a video game intervention within a video game.
I know. What?
And that would be called
I'd be like,
bad game
trying
design.
to get you off crack. Here, take some of this parent-administered crack instead. Like, what are you talking about? How does that make any sense at all?
well, at least that way you know they'll play it.
Yeah.
I'm sure not. I'm
No.
sure it's terrible.
Probably.
I'm so saddened.
Wow.
Anyway,
Well,
someone else go ahead. I'm too depressed now.
Can't go on.
What
Should
about
that
you?
move us into what we're reading?
Go ahead. What do yeah, what are we reading? What are you reading?
Okay. So this week I've been kind of working through House of Leaves, which I talked about on another podcast. So that's
Love,
really fascinating. Yeah, excellent so far. I'm not very far in it, but it's so complex that moving in a linear fashion is kind of hard. So it's still fascinating, though. There's so many layers. I've actually been reading the Sandman comics or graphic novels for the first time. Kind of felt like that was appropriate because since Wendy decided to do, I'm sorry, what was the name of
Divinity?
Divinity? Okay, I was going to say that. I'm like, I think I'm wrong. So since she was going to do Divinity, I'm going to do Wayward Manor, which was co-written by Neil Gaiman, or Gaiman. So I'm super excited for that, for my Power Hour review this week. And then rereading Odd Thomas, because I actually saw, I see a note on the Google Doc that Alex saw the movie. I just watched the movie on Netflix, and I was really hesitant because
The
I
movie's
love that
never
book.
as good as the book.
Right, and I love the book, and I was a little wary. It was actually a pretty good representation of it. Actually, very close for what you can do with a limited time. The book is astoundingly better, but not in a way to be detrimental to the movie at all. Like I enjoyed watching the movie, but I started reading it again because it made me nostalgic and I wanted to go back.
I like the response to someone saying something like that, which is, you know why I liked the movie better than the book? No reading. 2 hours.
Yes. Yes, that's fair. It takes a lot less time.
No, I actually was looking at it on my Kindle today. I almost bought it, and then I was like, but I'm glad that you liked it.
I actually highly recommend it, and the whole series is fantastic. Plus, if you don't want to read it in that form, they actually moved, before they did the movie, they made Odd Thomas into a graphic novel. And it's surprisingly true to the book. I mean, it's basically the dialogue without the narration behind it, and it's really nice. I skimmed it because I already owned the book, but it's a good choice. Sarah, what are you reading this week?
I just have to interject really quickly. Someone in our audience, Don, found out the name for what we were thinking of. It was Skinnerbox.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
I haven't, to be honest, I haven't really read anything, I think, since I graduated.
Well, you've been moving a lot. You've been bouncing back and forth, so.
Yeah. But I feel like
Forgiving summer.
if I have time, I'm taking a trip up to Canada, and it's like a 12+ hour bus trip, so there will be books. Unfortunately, the electronics can't last that long, so gotta supplement out with other things as well.
Yay!
Move it on. Rolling on. Well, I will say quickly that I feel like immediately following a graduation, not reading anything is 100% the appropriate response. Right? Like, don't you just need to let your brain leak out your ear?
It's summer, yeah, you have your, like, summer break still.
Oh my god.
It's been proven for higher intelligence that you have to let it rest between big periods of stress. So
Well, there you go.
You're just extra smart.
So I have been reading a whole bunch of articles lately on online communities. I'm getting ready to start working on a project with one of my friends, Doug Iman, about communication in Elder Scrolls Online.
Ooh.
So we recorded like 30 hours of game chat, and now we're going back and analyzing them. So I've been reading some like the classic Nardi, like the Night Elf Priest, and some various other stuff about online communication.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like work. Because it is.
Oh.
There you go.
Like work, only fun.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. Well, and it's nice. I like reading some of the old WoW stuff because then I get to reminisce to back before I thought that it started getting dull. Oh, those were good days.
Yeah. See, now we're gonna start. So if you start talking about WoW in the old days, we're gonna start sounding like old people.
Back
Like,
in my
remember when we
day.
used to walk to school 20
No
miles?
way.
No.
My dad convinced me they shared one shoe among the 4 children in his family.
Get our house handed to us. We worked for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Sam, what you been reading?
Well, I've been reading, as I talked about earlier, Fable comics, and I'm really enjoying them. I was out today, and I was like, oh, maybe I should get some more Fable comics. But yeah, I did. But I probably will soon. Yeah, addiction. There we go. Again. So does that guy say anything about Fable, about comics, and what qualifies as addiction when talking about comics?
He doesn't actually say anything substantive about anything, so I would be shocked. I'd be shocked.
No.
Well, I'm interested to see when he says I'm addicted to comics.
He's gonna get you
You'd
for
be
slander,
addicted to
Alex.
everything. You're addicted to life. Oh, he can suck it. It is just the worst.
And
I'm gonna write a whole review on Amazon, and it's gonna be scathing. So get ready.
Please do.
Please link it to me
Let us
later.
know.
I
Let
will.
us
Maybe
know
that'll
when
be
you
my
write
post
it.
for Monday, huh?
Yeah, it should be a joint post/Amazon review.
I
That'd
think
be
I'm
funny.
gonna do that. Maybe I'll start a new thing, like 3 Wolf Moon, and I'll like write this glowing review about how he just like shined light on humankind and such. It'll be amazing. Or like the Bic pens for women. Have you guys ever read those reviews?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sounds like a good book.
Yeah.
We ought to buy that.
I mean,
Gravy.
really.
All right, the second thing that I've been reading is actually something that I'm rereading. It's something that I've read and I had assigned in my summer class, and I'm rereading it for a project that I'm considering working on, doing whatever you want to say. It's A Mind Forever Voyaging, A History of Storytelling in Video Games. It's by Dylan Holmes. I know that there were chapters in it that Jen hated, and
only really the one.
But
that one was a special chapter.
Yeah, it was a special chapter. But it's really interesting when he goes through a series, I think 15 games, and talks about storytelling and elements of storytelling in each of the games. And there was one chapter that was pretty disturbing, but we won't spoil that for you. The rest of the book was not terribly bad.
That's a resounding endorsement.
It is a resounding endorsement. No, some of it is very interesting.
It was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that it can necessarily be called kind of heavy-duty scholarship, but it is exactly what it says it is. It looks at storytelling elements in games, and that's a lot of fun, and it brings back some kind of feelings of nostalgia for some of the earlier games. And actually reading through that book the first time and even reading through it the second time is making me want to go back and play some of the games that it's been a while since I've played. So it's an interesting book, and it's well written for the most part, and definitely worth checking out, especially if you like. It's only like 10. I think the Kindle version was only like $10. But yeah. So those are the things that I've been reading. Nothing exciting or too terribly exciting lately. I need something new and exciting to read that I can carry with. I've been reading stuff on my Kindle because I can carry it with me. But I want Fable comics on my Kindle. Then life
That'd
is
be nice.
over. then life is over.
I want to be able to read my Sandman comics on my Kindle.
Do they for sure not?
They don't.
I know
Have you
that
checked,
They
like,
might be, but
Comixology?
I've got an old Kindle, so it's not going to display anything like that properly.
because
So,
they've started
I'm-
putting digital comics and stuff. I know.
Oh, they have, and there are
Yeah.
digital versions, but I
have some
can't
digital
access them
comics.
through mine.
But not Fable comics.
Mm.
All right. What are you drinking as I refill my cup?
Water. For me.
Water, AK gin and soda.
Indeed.
Excellent. I've got apple cider.
Like real apple cider or hard cider?
Hard cider.
Hard apple
That's
cider.
my new thing. That's my new thing lately. I love those.
I
Gluten
love it.
free.
It is gluten free, and
Exactly.
I don't know. It's good. It's good stuff.
They don't like it.
All right. What about you, Sarah? What's
Sarah?
your-
I don't have anything. I'm actually really thirsty right now. I'm like,
Oh, and
Should've
well,
grabbed
you
a
should
drink.
be for forgetting your drink when you started the podcast.
Did you hear? It's cool if you're not reading anything, but you better have a drink.
Our priorities.
The only alcohol that we have around here are like hard liquors, and it's too much for
That's
me.
the best kind.
Definitely. Wendy, what you drinking?
I have a Cab Merlot. Tasty.
Fancy wino tonight. I like it.
Oh, I know. Well,
Representing up north.
we live like 5 minutes. I'm Finger Lakes. Like the second best wine wine.
That's what I said. You're representing up north. I love your guys' wine.
We have I have a
wasn't kidding.
winery like 5 minutes from my house. It's not good. It's not good.
That would be dangerous for me.
It's quite dangerous. They know me. They know me.
Dangerous in the best possible
Even
way.
better.
They're
Like
like,
making
all
life
right,
worth living.
we're getting commission today, kids. Let's go.
Well, I guess it's my turn. I am drinking something new.
Oh.
I actually received this as a gift. I'm going to turn on my camera because I had my camera off because my kid's been running in and out half naked. Look at this. It's backwards.
Evan Williams?
Yeah, it's it's called Kentucky Slush. It says ready to freeze or pour.
Sounds classy.
It needs a spigot.
It does need a spigot right here. Well, because you're supposed to freeze it until it's slushy, so you can't really put a spigot in it. And because I just stuck the whole big old gallon bottle in the freezer, it didn't freeze. So I had to pour it over crushed ice. But it's bourbon with lemonade,
Yum.
orange juice, and sweet tea.
You had me at bourbon.
Sounds really good.
Why are you laughing at me, Sarah?
No, I was laughing at Alex. He was just like, just the bourbon.
It was a gift from a student, and it's actually really good.
Wow.
I need your students.
That's a fancy gift.
Should I have gotten you a gift?
Can we?
Sarah, why didn't you ever
we
get me a gift?
give-
you
I
jerk?
know, now I feel bad. Like, should I
You
have
should.
been
We
giving
can give
gifts?
alcohol as gifts. We can get alcohol as
Only
gifts.
pre-dissertation defense.
Aren't you not allowed to have alcohol on campus?
It's not on campus. It's at
Oh,
my house.
please, Sarah.
But
grow
the
up.
transaction was on campus.
Are you, come on, are you
Not
5?
necessarily.
Please.
You can't. No. You can't drink alcohol on campus.
You can transport it.
You can
yeah.
drink alcohol on campus.
can't
I've done
consume
it.
it.
And you can drink alcohol on campus if
Yeah,
you
You're talking
have
about ability.
a special permit.
And also in that room in the union,
Interesting.
You really
that
can.
room where they have the bar.
Right.
Yeah, you have to. There's a special permit on campus that you have to serve alcohol at a function, and you have to use the union's alcohol service,
Mhm.
Or you could just do it.
or you can just do it. Well, that's what I've heard. I've never done that.
Can I go? I'm gonna have to dip out in a little bit. So can I go ahead with my indie game of the week?
Sure.
That doesn't bother news. News, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
All right. So my indie game of the week, I'm really excited to talk about it. It's called Farm for Your Life. It's by Hammer Labs Games. You guys didn't talk about it last week, right? I had the same thing in there, right?
No.
Okay, so it was a Steve Greenlight game, which is fun, right? You see one of those come to fruition. It's a casual horror game. I use casual lightly. We all know how we feel about the casual game label, which usually means for women, right? And so it's awesome. So you start at the beginning, and it looks like a Farmville style type of game, right? And your farm, there's this huge storm that came through, and your farm was destroyed, and like your cow got like taken off in some crazy tornado. Betsy, very sad. Your poor cow and your chickens and all your stuff gets taken away, and so you have to restart it's you and your father, and you have to restart your farm. So you're like trying to wheel and deal, but there's like thugs, and there's some people that are like there's this craftsman who doesn't know how to cook, so he wants to like trade with you. So you like make him some meals with your farm and whatever, and then there's thugs that come and take all your stuff. So then you're like chilling, and you're like, so you plant crops, and then all of a sudden it turns into Farmville. So you're like planting crops, and you're like, and then it also turns into like Cooking Mama or Cafe World or whatever, because then you cook these crops, and then you have to go make these recipes. And it's really interesting because to learn a recipe, you actually have to chop vegetables in the air. So like if it takes onions and tomatoes and pumpkin, you have to like all these vegetables are flying through the air, and you have to like chop pumpkin and onion and tomato and get it all into the pot.
Ninja.
Yeah, I was gonna say so.
Which is exactly like Fruit Ninja, and it's so hard. Like it's so hard to do. It takes me forever, and it slows down if you don't get it. So it's like, okay, you suck. So, but anyway, so it's really fun. So then you're like chilling and whatever, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these zombies come out and like attacking you and eating your crops, and you're like, what the hell? Like I thought this was a farming game, and there's zombies everywhere. I don't get it. So you have to build. It's amazing. It's amazing. You have to build like pumpkin cannons and corn cob slingshots and stuff like around your perimeter, and then you have to harvest all this food, not only to like cook to the incoming people who are like traveling the world and like to be able to usually make like electronic scraps to trade with like the tradesmen nearby, but you also have to like farm enough stuff so that you have ammo to fight off these zombies on the way. But it's even better than like the Farmvilles and stuff like that because there's an actual ending. Like you go out into the wild, and so eventually the scientist comes and he's like, I think I can cure zombieism. So you have to do certain quests to get him to the point where you can try and cure zombieism, and there is an end to the game, which is good because otherwise you just go play forever, like Sam with Farmville 6 hours a day. So I got completely addicted to this game, so much so that we bought one of those converters, like to plug your computer into, so I could play it while we're in the RV, like driving down the road. There's a dogfight, but anyway, so it's amazing. It's only $10. Farm for Your Life, Hammer Labs Games. Well worth it. I loved it. I loved it. I haven't said that about one of my indie games of the week for a long time.
I know.
I haven't.
It has my full endorsement.
Hi, Rory. My kitty.
Hi, kitty.
Oh, a kitty.
She's coming to say hello.
My dogs are in timeout because I don't get along with my in-laws' dogs yet. Big is a brat.
Well, yeah, we knew that.
Indeed. It's because he's so spoiled.
All right. Sarah, what you got for news?
Okay, news. I think my most interesting news of the day is that Activision is being sued by an ex-dictator of Panama because his name is Manuel Noriega, I think, and he was in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And he thinks it is, quote-unquote, a blatant misuse, unlawful exploitation, and misappropriation for economic gain. Interesting, which is interesting. And I think it reminded me of, and I didn't talk about this in another podcast, but I think I heard that it was like Lindsay Lohan had also sued.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Grand Theft Auto, yeah. And so it's like, I wonder if this is going to become a trend now.
Oh, no.
We're like
Well,
real life people.
Didn't Kim Jong-il just sue that movie as well, or threatened war over a movie as well?
Oh yeah, I think I heard that. Yeah. I find it funny because I don't know anything about him really as like a historical figure or whatever, but he stated that the game depicted him as, quote, the culprit of numerous fictional heinous crimes, creating the false impression that defendants are authorized to use plaintiff's image and likeness. This caused plaintiffs to receive profits they would not have otherwise received. It's like,
apparent.
It's like,
right.
Dude, you're a dictator. Like, fair game,
Goodness.
I think.
It's like, and I want my cut. I want my cut of being the heartless dictator in this game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he wishes to collect for lost profits.
Nice.
Because he
goodness.
was about to put out his own game that would have been just as popular and made just as much money.
Yeah.
Barely representing his dictatorship. they clearly infringed there.
I'm just interested in seeing how this is going to end up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's going to be ignored as it well should be.
Hopefully. But yeah, that's interesting. Also, I know that a lot of you really like Don't Starve, and I have a lot of Don't Starve fans at home too. So, Don't Starve Reign of Giants expansion is coming to PS4 next week. Available for $4.99, and PS Plus members will get a 10% launch discount. And it says it has new characters, seasons, creatures, biomes, and other challenges. As if Don't Starve was not already hard enough.
Right.
They're gonna
I don't know who
harder.
else has played that game, but that game is enough to make you want to do bodily harm to yourself.
Oh, it's impossible. It's so impossible.
Yeah.
But I kind of love it anyway.
Yeah, I know. That's what it seems like. I know that my brother and even Dan were like working together at one point to try and get through it, and they seem to really enjoy it. I haven't actually played it yet, but apparently one of the extra new creatures is giants, so I'm sure that will turn out well for your poor little
that's going to make
character.
it so much easier.
And year-round starvation. Struggle through a full year of seasons as you experience the torrential rainfalls of spring and blistering heat of summer.
That is not okay. I don't have a PS4 though, so I'm stuck with the PC version.
You'll get the DLC too.
They're adding more female characters though. Wigfrid, a stage.
Oh, that's interesting.
It says a stage actress who went a bit too far with method acting on her latest role, and an ancient Valkyrie. That's interesting.
A Valkyrie.
But we'll just see how much sooner you die then with all these new things.
Sounds like fun.
And then my last news is that apparently Sony is really unsure about the future of the PS Vita, specifically in Western audiences, and it's looking doubtful that there will be more Western like AAA titles that are put on the PS Vita. So it's kind of precarious situation seeming.
Well,
I'm not
that's
sure.
sad.
I'm not sure how well it's doing in Japan, but
Well, I mean, the DS has such a stronghold
yeah.
Right.
that it's impossible to even think that you were going to sell, get a good install base in Japan.
Yeah, plus, I mean, handhelds are not just, like, for kids by any means, but I feel like a large portion of the handheld audience is children, and, like, the DS is definitely more child-friendly. But I think that's always been the state of, like, Sony's versus Nintendo's handhelds.
Weren't
Like,
the
Nintendo's
Japanese
always-
numbers something insane? Like 90% of women in Japan had DSs. The numbers that came out a while back, and the install base in Japan was like insane. I have to go back and look that up.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm Googling.
Yeah. That's why it never made sense to me. Why anybody thought they could even touch that. Yeah, and I'm like, what is it? Yeah, it was something crazy.
I can't. I think I might see things, but I'm not sure. Nothing pops out right immediately. But
Right.
yeah, I feel like it's just
Well, maybe
really.
we'll have to look for that later.
It's really
Yeah.
hard for Sony like to compete with Nintendo in that sort of handheld regard.
Oh yeah.
Maybe later iterations will end up being more successful. I mean, Nintendo had a stranglehold on the industry for a long time before others really started to kind of get a foothold. So it might not do so well this time, but maybe another iteration will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting. Those are numbers from 2010 though, so that doesn't help. Yeah. Oh well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I always feel like, you know, a punch in the gut because I'm always an early adopter and then I get stuck with something that, you know.
No other
And
games are coming out for you.
I never learned my lesson.
Well, but see, sometimes it pays off for you. So now you got the Wii U, and now you know you're getting games. And the 3DS got games, so eventually
It took a
maybe
while.
it comes around.
It took a while, man, for the 3DS to get games, and the games that came out at first on the 3DS were so horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know.
Oh my God! Somebody's car alarm is going off in my parking lot, and it's been going on for about 5 minutes.
I was wondering if that was somebody's
I
TV.
really. Do you want me to mute this? Because it's
No, you're fine.
driving me crazy.
It's not very loud.
I can't even really hear it,
Okay.
actually.
That's good. I can.
All right.
Anyway.
So let's just jump into our issue of the week, which is going to be a fun one. We thought it would be fun. We use that term loosely to talk about emotional games. To talk about emotional games that have given us kind of emotional slash visceral reactions. I think more emotional than visceral.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are very different things in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And because there was a category in during the Steam sale that was called emotional games, right? And it was one of the ones that you could vote on for the flash sale. And interestingly enough, it didn't get voted on enough to actually become like the flash sale for the 8 hours or whatever it usually is. And that was an interesting thing to me. I was like, are they too touchy-feely? Is this like...
What were all the ones that were on there?
Papa and Yo, Brothers, what else was on there? There were 4. I don't know. Did we lose Wendy? Because she might remember what the other 2 were.
remember.
Was one of them like, okay, because I
She
went
doesn't remember.
in their Steam tag now, and I'm looking through. They have like Gone Home.
Gone Home was one, and To the Moon was the other.
And yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
those were the 4.
I want to get Gone Home. I'm holding off till next month, but I want to get that one.
I got it. Yeah, it went on. I actually got it on Steam sale. That was the only game I got because I saw it was like selling for like $2. So I was like, I'm gonna
Oh
do on this.
God, I'm so sad I missed it.
Yeah.
Oh man, because
so
it's
those
like
are the-
20 now.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Those were the 4 though. So it was Gone Home, To the Moon, Papa and Yo, and Brothers were the 4 games that were considered emotional games. And I think I've played all 4. I've played all 4 of those.
Nice. I played 3 or 4. So.
So we thought it would be interesting and a kind of a fun thing to talk about emotional games or games that cause an emotional response. And you know, everybody knows that I have a thing about games where children get hurt, or worse, for a number of different reasons. And I think it's gotten much worse for me since I've become a parent. Parenthood changes you, man, in some real ways that you never expect. But just in terms of even in terms of some of the more recent games, and I actually wrote about this on the blog at one point, is that To the Moon is a game that I played because I needed an emotional game at that moment. I was looking for a game because the premise of the game is that you are the protagonist is dying, but can go through this service that allows you to, in the last, I think, 15 minutes of your life or whatever, relive your entire life, and make different choices. But what it does is, because I said last 15 minutes of your life, is it basically burns out all of your life energy, and as you finish that reliving, you actually die. And I was, it was a game that I was looking to play at that moment because I had lost a lot of family members recently, and it was causing me to rethink choices that I had made in my own life. And I was like, yeah, I really want and need to play this game right now. And I think that made it even more emotional for me. Kind of like this weird games as therapy thing, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's that classic, like, catharsis idea.
It's more productive than ice cream, so...
Yes, it is. Especially when you're lactose intolerant.
Well, I mean, fiction. One of the functions of fiction is to take a scenario that seems unbeatable or is unbeatable in the real world, and to turn it into something that echoes the truth of that, but makes it conquerable, or makes it accessible. Because sometimes it can't be conquered in fiction, but sometimes even just accessing it in a different way can help you to actually see how you can deal with something. And I mean, it's one of the reasons that children's stories are so powerful, and they're a huge part of growing up. Is learning possibilities and learning agency through fiction. And so I think video games like this, they definitely fulfill that function. I mean, it's a beautiful game, and it's a really interesting mechanic, the idea of going back and changing this person's past so they can achieve that ultimate desire, that ultimate dream.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful game, for one. And the story,
especially with, I mean, the graphics are so simple, but the music is stunning, and then the story is just well developed.
And I definitely, it was an interesting thing, right? Because it gave me kind of a vehicle for rethinking my own narrative through this other narrative, in a way where there was this buffer, right, between the two as well, right? So it became a less painful experience in many ways, but it was still a very emotional experience for me. And I'm really glad that game existed at that moment, right? Because it was what I needed at that moment. I don't know. Is that just me? Has anybody else had that kind of experience with a game before? Or is that just me and my...
I think if I'd come to Papa EO a few years ago, I think it would have been that for me. Even so, tackling a game that it's most definitely a metaphor for dealing with a parent with substance abuse, but it's so thinly veiled as to not be veiled at all. They make it pretty clear through the flashbacks and through the little scenes that are interspersed through the gameplay. But if I had come to that a few years ago, because that's been a slow process of coming to terms, and I think that would have been a huge catharsis to see this embodied so well in a form of fiction, interactive fiction. It was powerful even without me being in the immediate necessity of it. So I didn't quite come to tears, but it was pretty damn close.
Yeah, I don't think I've particularly like turned to a game for catharsis, but definitely like think I could see that if I did have like that sort of moment and had gone maybe, but then also that definitely doesn't mean that I haven't that I haven't cried during a game. Definitely I cried at the end of Valiant Hearts, and I cried a little at the end of Brothers. So that doesn't mean they're not able. Just not even not having that like catharsis moment is still definitely able to get you attached and really into the story enough to really care and feel emotional attachment.
Yeah, Brothers got me.
Yeah, Brothers. Oh man.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, just that mechanic is both so well done and so painful.
Yeah, that's what got me. It was, yes, the narrative was bad enough, and because Wendy, you haven't played this yet, have you?
I got really frustrated at being bad with the thumbsticks.
But that's important. Know that. No, seriously, know that, because I did the same thing when I started to play this game. I was like, this is the worst game ever. I was like, the mechanics on this game are so horrible. And then you realize that it's intentional. And at that same moment that you realize that it's intentional, it becomes a lot easier. At least that was my experience. Did anybody else have a similar experience? That once you realize that frustration with the thumbsticks was intentional, that it became easier for you, or you just struggled?
I think I went in expecting it to be difficult, and so I was pleasantly surprised by the controls. I think because I kind of braced myself for impossible controls, and they weren't impossible. They were difficult, but not impossible. So. Right. I think that really helped with my patience level.
Yeah,
but by then I also already knew where the story was going to go, so I was pretty tolerant of the mechanic as a whole.
I think I cheated. Yeah, I think it seems like I cheated in that regard because I knew the mechanic and I knew like ultimately where it was going. Not exactly what would happen, but like ultimately where it was going. So I think I understood better. But yeah, I can't. I think maybe like something like that would happen, if you were doing it and you were totally unaware of what was going to happen or anything like that.
I was spoiled by our games class.
Yeah, basically. That's okay.
Yeah, it was like...
Hey, I don't mind spoilers. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, see, I hate spoilers. But anyway, it was okay for me. And that was what got me. Right, is because even though it's a fairly short game, it's only a couple of hours long. So as you start getting used to the mechanics, and then the mechanics change on you, that brings about a connection between the story and your bodily presence that's like a fucking gut punch. At least it was for me. I felt it.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't think I would have if I had not had that kind of interesting experience with the mechanics of the game to begin with, and then had to think specifically about what I was doing with my body in order to play the game. Yeah. That game was so incredibly well done in terms of thinking about because that's something we don't think about when we think about, we think about mechanics, but only in terms of how intuitive they are, right? It's like, do I know where all the buttons are? Is this easy to do? Can I reach all of these things in order to do the combos and do well in this game? That's the way we think about mechanics when we think about games for the most part. We don't think about the mechanics as a narrative element. And in that
we tend
game,
to think the good mechanics are the mechanics you don't notice.
Right.
Like we tend to like any system, we complain when the system that most systems are invisible. They're real, they're structured, they're set up for a reason, but we don't notice them until they break down.
Right.
And so normally we get really frustrated with mechanics when they seem to be broken or when something seems wrong with them, which makes Brothers very frustrating if you're not anticipating that. But that awareness becomes such an intentional part of the storytelling that it's a really interesting play on how we think about our connection to games.
And I think it was, because when I got to that point, and I wasn't, like, I knew, I had heard about it in class, but I wasn't really exactly sure, so I got to the point where you have to swim, and I was, like, trying to do it, and it was, like, not working at all. I'm like, why isn't this working? And then I started swimming, with the older brother's half of the controller. And it was, like, at that moment, I was like, that was a very, very relevant and very well done way of incorporating narrative into the gameplay and, like, giving the gameplay and game mechanics significance through the narrative. And I think that that's probably one of the best examples I've seen of it.
Oh, yeah.
In that moment. So but also I'm guilty of specializing a lot in the narrative aspect. So I focused a lot on that, and I was very impressed by that particular scene and area.
Yeah, that was the moment that I started to cry.
I think, Sam, it's slightly off topic, but on that idea of something we do because we need catharsis in that moment. I think emotional games have a lot of functions. Like, we go to an emotional game for a lot of reasons, and I think that the reason you went to the Moon is an incredibly valid and probably a common core for a lot of people who choose to do games like this. It's not a gaming correlation, but it is a similar type situation. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, it was the end of a school year, and so I started chemo and everything at the beginning of a school year, and I was bound and determined that this traumatizing, horrible, massive thing was not going to stop me from doing the things that I loved. And one of the things that I did every November was National Novel Writing Month. And the idea of teaching full-time and coaching the drama team and dealing with chemo and writing a 50,000-word novel was a little bit overwhelming. And so in that time, and I actually did it during chemo, I was writing a story where the protagonist of the narrative went through chemo, was diagnosed with cancer, and was a young woman who hadn't been expecting it. And to this day, I hate that story with the fiery passion of 1,000 suns, but it is also the only nano I have not only reached the 50,000-word goal, but actually finished to completion. And it gave me, and I know someday I will go back and I will read it, and it's going to hurt like hell, but it was a way for me to kind of chronicle what was happening at that time and be able to express it through somebody who was not me. And that was really important, to get that distance and to get that outside view. And I think it sounds like that's what To the Moon was able to do for you, is to let you kind of see what you were going through, but not funneled through only through your perspective. And so I think, the completely valid reason for coming to these kinds of games.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. With kind of the rationale, and that's exactly what I kind of needed to do. I needed that buffer between me and what I was going through and what I needed to think through, and being able to navigate similar experiences through a protagonist who was not me. Gave me what I needed to make it not necessarily a less painful experience, but a less personal experience in some strange way. and it gave me some of the
and yet
freedom to
personal
think about it.
enough. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
It
I know,
gave-
like, I told you I had to take a break from Papo Yo when I got to the point where this mysterious girl appears and tells Kiko that he is the only one that can cure Monster, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna take a break for a second. I need to walk away from this because that sense of responsibility
Mhm.
on any child who's been in that circumstance, I'm like, I can't deal with this right now. We're gonna take a break.
Not just on any child, but on any person, right? Who's been in
Right, you're
similar
right.
situations, right? Is that sense of
Mhm.
responsibility? Yeah, no, you're spot
Yeah.
on. Trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, when I played Papo and Yo, I was like, oh, it's a pretty game, and I started it. It was late. I remember this. I started it. It was late at night, and I was like, I'll play a little bit of it, and I'll come back and play some more. I sat there and I finished that entire game because I
Yeah,
could
I
not
couldn't.
stop.
Mhm.
I had to play through. And there are things in that game that there were moments when things happened and you were like, what the hell just happened?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Oh God, the toy.
well,
When
yes,
Monster breaks the toy.
yeah, the toy
Lola?
and the girl. Have you finished
Mm-hmm.
this game?
Yeah.
And the
Oh,
girl.
I finished the game.
Yeah.
I think
And the girl.
the toy resonated even more because that actually happened with me. With the toy being broken because of that. So that actually, you're right. The girl was also just a heart-stopping moment.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, these are some powerful games.
Yeah.
And they're these smaller indie-ish titles, right?
Mhm.
Like Valiant Hearts is the one that came from Ubisoft's kind of
Yeah.
pseudo indie
Ubi Art, I think is, yeah.
arts.
Mhm.
Ooh, ouch. And then Papo and Yo is Minority Games, and Brothers
Mhm.
is actually Brothers is another big studio. I'm drawing a total blank.
I will look it up.
That's what I'm doing right now.
I just played it today and I couldn't tell you.
Starbreeze Studios.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, Starbreeze Studios did Brothers, and then To the Moon is actually one of the small. It is a true like indie game. It's Freebird Games, but they made it
Yeah.
using VX Ace. What is it?
RPG Maker.
RPG Maker. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's made using
Fascinating.
RPG Maker. It's a like small indie studio that's made, just once again this thing,
I
couple
can see
guys
that.
in the basement making this game.
Huh.
Yeah. And powerful piece, man. I feel like a hippie, as I just said that.
I think I think one of the most fascinating things for me is that, like, a lot of times emotional games seem to be these interactive fiction type things. So, like, there's a depression game that's literally playing through depression, but it's a choose your own adventure type thing.
Depression
there was a game that we read about. Yes, there's a game that we read about. I can't remember the name of it now, but it was an interactive fiction that dealt with a parent who was molesting their child, and like you don't realize what you're doing at the beginning. You work your way through to the end. You see the response, and then you have a chance to change it or, figure out what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very convoluted game, but that one, again, choose your own adventure, not very, game-like, more fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Analog A Hate Story definitely has game-like qualities, it's still very much in that interactive fiction genre.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that, to me, that these games, they're not interactive fiction. Like, Papo Yo plays like Portal. It's got the puzzles are a little simpler, but they're still, I mean, it's still finding the puzzles and learning the mechanic and then using it in these different settings and combining things in new ways to get the effects. It's very much like the Portal gameplay. And the storyline is actually very abstract, other than these really concrete like flashbacks or real world scenes. And so you can play that as just a game. It's not until the end scene that you're really forced to confront the interactive fiction part of it. Same with Brothers at the climax, or To the Moon, as you start to deal with mental illness and that interaction with death.
Yeah. Yeah, those are some, like I said, powerful games that make you think about kind of important and often silenced issues in our own lives in some really interesting ways.
Yeah, and I think that, and going off also what you said about how like they have like themes that are resonating, and Valiant Hearts tackled World War I, which I feel like is often neglected, especially like in this sort of gaming games and everything, especially compared to like World War II or something like that. But World War I, I mean I hadn't thought about World War I since like AP US history in in high school. So it was like getting all the facts, and some people, I know that I read reviews and some people thought they were trying too hard to like present facts. But I think that what was really powerful, and I won't spoil the ending, I'll be very vague, was just like the sense, they definitely have a sense in the game of how like meaningless like all the conflict is, and how it's just an endless cycle, and how pointless.
Which is an interesting take on World War I.
Yeah, and it was just how pointless so many people died, and like for instance, there's scenes where the French generals are pushing the soldiers into battle, even though they're literally getting slaughtered, but they're just forcing them to keep going, and there's no hope that they're going to do anything, but they're still forcing them to go, and it was just really raw, and I was just fortunate the dog didn't die, because I was going to just. So
I told you it wouldn't.
The dog doesn't die, so.
I knew it wasn't going to. I knew it wasn't going to.
But yeah.
No, that's not spoiling anything. I already knew.
And they bring in, and it's
I'm
very.
sure he's gonna die.
I know you
bring in artistic style, so you don't get like, the gore or anything, but you just see all the destruction, and they open with at the start is like they give you a lot of letters that were found on that were actual correspondence between soldiers and their families, and they're all really hopeful letters. Like one was saying, and they're from all different sides of the and different countries and things, and one was saying like, oh, don't worry, I'll be home for Christmas, and you're just like thinking, oh God, no, you're not. And then it's like, then there's one.
Please be home.
And then there was one where it was like a Canadian soldier, and he was like, I'm gonna make Canada proud. Like, I'm gonna try and put, Canada, like, show Canada's like strength in this war or something. And that was, I think it was before the battle where the Germans had they first started using the gas attacks, and in that battle, I've learned all these factoids about World War I now too. It was first used, like on a primarily Canadian army, and they had
spoilers.
They had no idea of like how to defend against it, and even like you find little items that are relevant to the war, and one of them is in that area is a urine-soaked face mask, because that's the only thing that worked against the gas attacks. And it's just really like really very raw, and just when you think the characters are done, they get sucked right back in. Like they'll finish a mission, but then they'll get found again by the military and sent to another position, another post, and I just think that it was a really powerful comment on just how hopeless it could have been, and like how many of the lives were torn up by it, and you don't really think about it really, just how many people had died, but they present to you that not only in the tales of just like, because these are all people who they're heroes in their own right, but they're not like the war heroes, quote unquote. They're just the average kind of person who would have fought and would have served and such. And I think that it was really powerful in that regard.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to play the game yet. I bought it and downloaded it and haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it because I've only heard good things about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like a great game.
It does. And that's the thing about like war movies, some war movies like stuff like Saving Private Ryan and things like that that are very personal. Not that war movies are not personal, because war is a very personal thing, but very specific kinds of war movies that I feel like this game is a lot like have been the only kinds of movies that I have not been able to watch because they're too much for me emotionally. And I think that that's probably part of the reason that even though, like I said, I bought the game and I've downloaded the game, but I have not yet played the game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I want to play it.
And I can't remember who had made a comment, but someone had made a comment that that there weren't really any media that didn't valorize or like cast war in like a heroic sort of context.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the game does in a small degree. I think it's hard to escape from, but I think that that's definitely on the better side of things. In a way, it was like a slightly less sad version of I don't know if you've ever heard of it's a Japanese anime movie, Grave of the Fireflies.
Mm-mm.
Oh my God, so sad. I don't know if Sam could get through it because it's children.
Oh yeah.
But
Right.
basically,
I haven't seen it yet, but I know what it is.
It involves two siblings, like two young children, as they're trying to survive in Japan during the bombings. And so, and people have said, like, critics have said, like, this is the only movie that portrays war in, like, a completely not, there's no sense of, like, the heroicness of war, like, anything like that. And I agree, it's super, super sad. So, I don't know if Sam could get through it, because...
Doesn't sound like it.
It is very much children and dead children. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the game is Valiant Hearts isn't perfect, and like they could have incorporated the little factoids probably in a more seamless way, and that you can't really hear. Interestingest thing is they don't have the characters speak, and they kind of have dialogue, and you can kind of tell what they're saying, but it's kind of like muffled.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a gist of what they're saying.
So possibly needed better voice acting.
No, I think some people were having problems, like saying that they couldn't relate to the characters or something, but I didn't have that problem. I felt like they were very relatable and in their struggles, and like how their stories would be actually realistic and true to life, because one, it follows four main, and one is he was a German-born man who had moved to France and had gotten married and had a son, and he was basically banished from France because they were sending all the natural Germans back to Germany, and then forced into the German army. And his wife's dad was living with them, and he was then forced into the French army. So then they meet each other like on the battlefield, while she's at home
Spoilers,
trying to
woman. Spoilers, woman.
It's not really a spoiler.
It's a spoiler. It is beyond 20 minutes into the game.
I don't know. Well, all the first stuff, the description stuff, all happens at the very start. So that's not a spoiler.
Okay.
But yeah, but then obviously she's left at home taking care of the kid on her own. And one is she's like a army medic who is trying to get her dad back after he was he's like in Belgium, and she's trying to get back to him, and things like that. So it's really, I think it is really, I don't know, it's just, it seems like a very
relatable.
Yeah, good portrayal of World War One, and it's a respectable portrayal, and I think that it really, it's like, you know, it honors them, and doesn't gloss over any of the any of the things by choosing to just focus on, like, you know, the typical war hero kind of story.
Well, that's good. I'm anxious to play it. Like I said, I was a little skeptical at first. I'm like, this is gonna be horrible, and
I know. And the trailer made me cry when they showed it at E3, and I'm like, oh god.
God, the trailer.
Like, the trailer is really sad. Like, it's sad.
The trailer's terrifying. The trailer is like, your heart is going to shatter into a million pieces.
Play our game. Yay! Yeah.
Oh no.
So you have to tell me what you think after you finish it.
Well, I'll probably, you know, depending on how I feel when we're done talking tonight, I might start playing it, because now I'm anxious to play it. We'll see.
But I think the interesting thing about these games is they're all like, yeah, they all have the indie portraying like artistic-y style, very like narrative heavy. Like Valiant Hearts was mostly puzzle based, and they weren't difficult puzzles. They were kind of like the puzzles in Child of Light, although some of them were a little more complex, but nothing too difficult. And pretty simple, like, mechanics and gameplay, I'd say. But I think it's interesting that all of these games have that shared. I feel like it's shared in common, really.
Mhm. I think it was interesting about a lot of these games that have those puzzles, like Child of Light, and like I said, I haven't played this one yet, but they make those puzzles purposely simplistic enough that they are there so that they can call it a game. But what it really is an interactive narrative. Yeah, because like the Child of Light puzzles, it's like, really? I got to do this again? It's the same damn puzzle I did 5 minutes ago somewhere else. Really, and I have to do it again.
Yeah, at least the Papo EO puzzles, they were simple, but they were all different.
Yeah,
like each one had different mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those were easy to figure out. Like, I figured them out faster than I figured out the Portal ones, but they weren't necessarily like immediately like, oh well, I know what to do next. To the Moon is a little bit more simplistic as far as game mechanics go. I mean, it's fairly straightforward in the puzzle format. It does fall a little bit closer to interactive fiction, though it does have game elements for sure, more than analog. But I think Papo EO did a pretty good job of finding that balance. But they do tend to run that line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, like, Child of Light had the combat too, so there was that part. But Valiant Hearts doesn't have that sort of like combat-y. But I will say that the puzzles they're certainly more varied than like in Child of Light. The puzzles, I mean, there are some similarities between some of them, but you know, the context changes. So then therefore the puzzles have to change too, because it's not, you know, going to be the same thing every time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, hmm, I once upon a time I think I would have not ever thought that I would want to play these kinds of games. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't think it's an age thing, but I think it's a maturity as a gamer,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Is expecting more from my games now than I did before. Right. I want more from my games than just running and gunning. Yeah, I still like
Hmm.
running and gunning games. Don't get it twisted.
But yeah, and
Well, and
it's
I think we've seen a bigger trend too of AAA games that are starting to delve into really complicated emotional contexts. I mean, you look at the Bioshock games, Infinite especially for the narrative part, but I mean all of them deal with incredibly complex topics and emotional topics. And then, I mean, I know, Sam, it's your favorite game ever, but I actually just had a great conversation with Kale about Red Dead. With Well, and we were comparing, like he and I were comparing Tomb Raider and like the way that physical assault and sexual assault really makes more of a statement in Tomb Raider, because the intensity of it, the immediacy of it, the inability to walk away. Like it's much more intense within the Tomb Raider games.
Mhm.
Whereas the emotional impact, he was saying it really disturbed him, that it really bothered him, and especially the rape in the streets. Like those are the only non like obvious criminal characters, are the only town characters that you can kill with no ramification,
Mhm.
which is an interesting game mechanic.
Yeah.
But like the way that like physical violence towards women there wasn't really made a focus, but you've got the emotional impact of the story and the investment and the time that you put into this character, and his respect for people, his respect for his family, and everything that goes into that, and then how that makes the ending that you have no control over just hit you like a sack of bricks.
Mhm.
But we were talking about the strengths and weaknesses when you have a game that's very much shooter oriented or quest oriented, where you're just kind of running every day, as opposed to these 5-hour, 10-hour games that are so focused that you can get these really intense directed narratives.
Yeah, I mean, because Red Dead, has its own issues, and it was interesting because I was interesting when the last Anita Sarkeesian video came out, that she also pointed out things about Red and the prostitutes in Red Dead,
Mhm.
right? Because they are
Yeah.
kind of the characters that you can kill without ramifications, two that others can kill without ramifications.
Okay.
And then like the
Mm.
scene that she shows when you can go and you can like kidnap the prostitute and throw
Yeah,
her
like
over the back of
quote
your.
unquote. Isn't that like, I can't remember exactly, and I haven't actually played it, but like you like kidnap them for like quote unquote like their own good, like to get them out of it or something.
Right, but then at the same time,
I don't know that quest.
No, but I mean, I'm not saying that that's a good like.
yeah, it's not necessarily a quest, but you can do it and throw her over the back
Mm.
of your horse. But then all the time, she's still offering you sexual favors for money, being horse tied over and
They
thrown
get
over the back of your
the
horse.
narrative. Oh,
Uh,
goodness.
I mean, and it's it's like really, what were you thinking? You know, one
Yeah.
that's horrible dialogue. That's horrible, but to have it continue, right?
Yeah, because I mean, like the dialogue for the other NPCs that get thrown over the back of the horse, which is any criminal you manage to hogtie instead of kill,
Right.
their dialogue changes. So why the
Yeah.
hell
No.
didn't they change it for?
Yeah,
Nope.
it's like you don't know if it was a purposeful thing or if they were just like, oh, we'll just have them say the same thing. Like a more like
Well,
a
but even
stepfather
but that's
changing.
But that falls straight into the same category as Ubisoft refusing to do female avatars. Like, it's not necessarily that it's a grievous oversight so much as it's the fact that they felt it wasn't worth the effort, it was worth overlooking because it's not as important because it's a female NPC. Like, it's important, it's significant in its inattention.
Yeah. It's interesting how some of those things play out.
But I mean, but just for the context of our discussion, I think that AAA games can deal with some pretty intense emotional moments and storylines, but I think that part of that is limited in the fact that the games need to be playable for a much longer period of time. They also need to be replayable. And so this, rather than having a very focused storyline where you can play it again. I mean, I've played I've played To the Moon again, getting ready for this podcast. But largely speaking, it's not one that I'm like, I'm in the mood to pick this up again. The way I might go back to Final Fantasy VII for the upteenth millionth time and be like, let's try this again, even though I know every single thing that's going to happen. So there's, you can't focus it as much as you can with some of these small indie games that are really intensely focused on narrative.
Yeah, and they feel they're very kairotic, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes another thing that makes them very difficult to just kind of come back to kind of on spur of the moment, right? In the same way that you might go back to Final Fantasy VII, or the way that I, traditionally replayed Grim Fandango every year, right around Halloween, or, right? Is that, yeah? I'm so happy that's coming. They're finally doing a reboot of that, or a remake, HD remake.
When are they going to give me my remake of FF7?
You can.
I want that, damn it.
That is never. I've
been waiting for forever. It's never coming, but I will hold out hope. It's like people who want Firefly to be reinstituted. The hope will always remain.
And that's exactly what it is. No, but what they said is that once they finally made another Final Fantasy game that was as popular as that one, they would remake that one.
Oh.
That makes sense. That actually does make sense.
But the game's
going to be hard, though,
that's never going to happen.
Because they also now have the nostalgia factor tacked on to just, good game in general. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
Well, I mean, you could get a game that's similarly powerful. It's difficult, but I mean, if they were to do it, but I can see why they would refuse. Because if they can make as much money as they can off of the original Final Fantasy VII in its current format, then it's not worth a remake unless it starts losing sales to something else. It's just unfortunate because that'd be awesome.
It would be. I love that game. All right. Well, on that note,
my heart.
Oh.
We've lost people.
No.
On that note, yeah, we've been going a while, and we've lost a couple of folks because they had to leave for various and sundry reasons. I guess that brings us to the end of our discussion about emotional games. If folks, listeners, are out there and want to talk to us more about emotional games and games that you have had emotional reactions to or played for emotional reasons, and we want to share and kind of participate in the conversation after the fact, please feel free to send us an email at nymgamer@gmail.com, or you can send us a voicemail using that handy dandy voicemail widget either on our blog or on our Facebook page, or you can send us video mail or what have you. Send us whatever you need to send us, and we will respond in kind. But yeah, thank you for joining us and talking to us and listening to us talk about our emotional games in episode 82. And gosh, next time we'll be doing episode 83. These numbers are good. We're gonna hit double. We're gonna hit triple digits soon.
What are we gonna do for? What are we gonna do for?
We need to do something special for 100.
Yeah, we need to do something big for 100. We have to figure out when it's gonna fall and start planning.
Got some brainstorming.
Yeah. start planning because that's only, what, 18 episodes away?
Yeah.
So 18 times 2.
36 weeks.
And then
so that's what, 9 months?
Wait,
We might have to
Yeah,
like cheat and step up some to two one every week for a while to get there faster. No,
yeah, no, it was like 9 months. Actually, that's a fairly long time away.
it'll be here before you know it, apparently. So yeah, you can contact us in all those various and sundry ways. You can also follow our daily blog posts at nymgamer.com, or if blogs are not your thing, or Facebook's not your thing, where you can like us at Not Your Mama's Gamer, and Twitter's not your thing, where you can follow us at nymgamer. You can you can always follow us on Tumblr at nymgamer.tumblr.com. The 100th episode is going to be April 1st,
2015.
April Fool's Day. Yay!
That'll be interesting.
That should make for a fun episode.
That will be.
If I did my math.
Yeah,
we will see.
That'll be fun. Sarah, by then you'll have to fly back and join us for our 100th episode. So until then, folks, thanks for joining us. Thanks again for joining us for the 82nd episode, and we are really looking forward to talking to you for the 83rd episode. So until then, wow, with the polar vortex coming through, it's like weird to stay in July, but stay warm.
Yeah.
And if you're in the Midwest,
hurts.
where I know, if you're in the Midwest where we are, stay dry because it's been raining every day. And as always, game on.
Game on.